This is TWI Talks After Chapter Discussions. We're discussing Chapter 8.82 today, hosted by Mr. Wiggles and Trustworthy Shawn. This chapter was split into 3 parts by Pirate Abbo, so the discussion is actually split into 2 as well. We're discussing Part 1 today, and then look for Part 2 in a matter of days.
It's the end of Volume 8, and it would appear to be the end of the waning world. Like, everything has shifted in dynamic. We got huge happenings, like rips in reality. Ghosts are coming back to talk to people. Teriarch's waking up, died, and then woke up. Like, all sorts of crazy stuff happened. But taking a look at the after chapter discussion, topics and questions, we'll start off with the first one. What will be the consequences of the ghosts giving their legacies to chosen individuals among the living? They seem to be giving training, in my viewpoints. Like, all the ghosts are just imparting every forbidden, forgotten secret, gear buried in the soil. They're just all letting it out because they know that now's the time. Like, they need as much help as they can give to the living world. Agents of Fog says it'll be the consequences of Volume 9. And yeah, that is absolutely it. Every sort of bit, every plot hook that we're seeing, like there are those 3 ghosts that show up and offered a girl a class, and there's the named adventurer who showed up as a ghost and just said, hey, my gear's right there. All of these delicious, juicy plot hooks are going to be explored in Volume 9, I think.
Absolutely. And Shawn, just to give you a heads up, whenever you get pinged in reactions and comments, it means someone wants to talk to you. Talk out loud, I mean.
Okay. Please
But
feel free to ping me, people.
yeah, so if anyone has any thoughts they want to speak verbally, just ping Shawn since he's the host of today's discussion.
Edge Dancer says, "Well, I think that lots of people will level up more. I fear social unrest that will destabilize Inworld, which happens often when people that didn't typically have power gain it." That's true. Like, I'm sure lots of people are going to probably take advantage for the better and fight the threat of the Seamwalkers coming through, but there are definitely going to be those that just try to screw over everyone for their own personal gain. But it seems to me that right now the ghosts are just having a Hail Mary, that they don't care about that consequence. It just, like, anything that they can get out there, they're trying, heedless of like the consequences, because the gods are back and killing them, and they're probably not going to get another chance like this. Agent of Fog wants to speak, so I'll pass the mic to them.
Yeah, hi. The Trustworthy Shawn made a good point. So about the Simwalk. So, do you think they will resolve the void walker problem now, or they will also go to the next volume, so that the people will need the new classes to fight them in the next volume?
Are you asking if I think like people are going to get classes right now and we're going to see them, or are we going to see the classes next volume?
No, if you think they are related to the void walkers, and again, if you think that the void walker will end now, or they will go into the next volume, and then people that got the training will be fighting them.
I think the next volume is probably going to be looking at all of the consequences. So that's when the training and like the build up of what exactly the ghost's heritage or ghost's gifts are to the people will pass down the next volume.
Yeah, but again, right now the void walker are still a long way from going into the real world. So again.
Oh yeah, I think there's gonna be a little bit longer before they break through to the real world. The last we've heard of the living world being aware of the threat, I think, is Ilvris is looking on a scrying orb, and he's like, "Oh, how do we fight that?" I don't think we've had confirmation they've spilled into the real world yet, but I do think that's coming. If not at the end of this volume, then definitely next volume. Mr. Wiggles, you pinged me to speak. The mic is yours.
So, going along with Agent Fog's question, I do think that basically how I see it is like the Seam Walkers will not immediately start coming through, and they won't be immediately like destroyed by the Dead Gods either in the Deadlands. So over like the coming Volume 9 storyline, they'll slowly be coming through the cracks into the Living Lands, and that'll be like the one of the major threats that gets people to start leveling up. In addition to that, we have things like what's it called? Uh, Holv, you know, the half elf from the Putrid Run's apprentice. We have his plague being spread around. We have things like Regis's his blood slaves or whatever they are. And so all those are going to be like basically leveling opportunities as I see it in the future. And I think that's kind of what the consequences are of the ghost actions in a lot of ways is we're going to see a new renaissance in the coming volumes.
I definitely agree. Like one of the lines is a part of the waning world has returned, and I think at some point it literally just says the waning world is ending. Swords are just bursting out of cases and running through people, and ghosts are talking over the place. Like the living world of the Wandering Inn just got like shaken vigorously by the ghosts, and there's plenty of consequences to that. Mel, you pinged me to speak. The mic is yours.
Yes, thank you. Glad to be here. Um, I want to add to what everyone has said so far, and that this is a very upturning of the board for the living in TWI. We have seen that there has been, I would say, since the Queller Wars, a pretty stable political structure of you have kingdoms with dynastic government of the king passes the title to the king or the queen passes the title to their children, and it's gone like that for 6,000 years until unless another kingdom comes in and overtakes it. We've also seen for the last 6,000 years the relationships between the Drakes and the Norse has kind of been how it's been. Belarus, we've had these fighting companies have been like this for again since the Queller Wars. Um, in Rio, the demons versus the Blighted Kingdom. Not much has changed politically or governmentally since the Queller Wars. It's kind of been very stable. This is an upturning of everything. This is a cataclysm in that what we have known before no longer is going to apply going forward. We saw in this chapter a ghost king gave his legacy to just some random soldier in the battle. He pretty much said, "I don't know who you are. I don't care who you are. You are just a citizen of my land. Here's my legacy." Is that character potentially going to overthrow the kingdom and become the new king? I have no idea. I think a lot of things I'm kind of pointing to is we have no idea what's going to happen. We've kind of had a set trajectory how things have gone and how are going to go, and that's no longer the case. Things are completely off. What we assume to be true is no longer true. And the ghosts giving this is happening all over the world on every single continent. Ghosts are giving their legacy to the living. A ghost is just a named adventurer popped up, told a farmer, "That's my bones. Do what you want with them." What's going to happen with that farmer? Is that farmer going to be the next duke of that land? This is a complete overturning of what we knew, and that's going to lead to amazing stories. And I don't think we can take anything for granted at this point.
I definitely agree. The story could go anywhere. I think one of the best examples from that is from a previous chapter. Fetohep is on his ride and he passes by some doom speaker cultist who is like completely misinterpreting everything and like starting a cult of personality around Fetohep. He's just like, I don't have time for this, and he keeps running away. Like there's going to be tons of just confusing interpretations of everything that's happening from within the world. So it'll be exciting to see where all those plots go. And Mr. Europe says there's no way the Seam Walkers all die in the next chapter. I kind of agree. I think they're a threat that's going to stick around for a while. Edge Dancer says the waning world is going to be replaced by the waxing world. Knowles will never be Harry again. That's truly horrifying. I hope that doesn't happen. Part-time Hermit says Ryoka no longer uses the Batman name since the waning. Oh god, that's a pun. The waning world is no more. It's spelled like Bruce Wayne. And Agent Fogg ats Mel and says that Mel has a point. The current rules, except for Drath and Minos, are pretty weak. Maybe that's a typo of current rulers. I'm not sure. Let's move on to the next question. This one's by me. Spriggania has been taken by Cowayne. Is she now influencing Cowayne's actions and decisions? I thought that Spriggana was the greatest soul of them all, and like how she went down mattered. And Cowayne seemed to not just overwrite her personality. She opened a door into her heart and invited her in. Spriggana maybe didn't like explicitly take it, but she dove in into the safety of Cowayne, and then Cowayne afterwards says, "All right, you're part of me now. Let's see who we are together." So of all the gods right now, to me, Cowayne seems like she has the most interesting sort of uniqueness to her, because we know that she's a rebel. She's the goddess of last dance, and that she's fought for both sides. She's fought against the mortals and for the mortals. So it's just interesting to me that maybe Spriggana is not completely gone, like most of the other ghosts that we've seen that have been taken by the gods. They've maybe she has some sort of influence in Cowayne's actions. Mr. Wiggles, the mic is yours.
Whoops, I was muted. So yeah, I definitely agree with you that Cowayne's actions are very, very unique amongst the gods right now, and it really makes you wonder, like, why is she doing this? She's basically like the way it's described is she's basically allowing these souls like Spriggana and what's her name? I'm blanking. Lucina, yeah, Lucina into her inner being or whatever to um, give them a say in what in how she makes her decisions in the future. And it's like, why would she let them do this to her? Because as we know from all the gods so far, they're very, very arrogant to the point that they don't see any of these souls in the Deadlands as anywhere near as important as themselves. So it's very interesting that Carwine seems to want to allow all these souls to give her a different perspective, since it's completely different from anything we've seen so far in the other gods. So I think in the future, Carwine might be like one of the most interesting antagonists we'll get in a series, because I don't think she'll ever truly change in a very good way, but I think she will be smarter slash better than the other gods in how she tries to take over the world, basically.
I definitely agree. Cowine, it says after she takes Spriggana's soul, maybe Spriggana does influence her, but she is not kind, and neither was Spriggana. So she's still missing that sort of component to like truly heal, change, turn. But one of the things that Cowine says is that gods can change when she's trying to convince Spriggana to take her hand. And then we see later in the chapter, Cowine gets her hand on Erin. She has the ability to delete her, like we've seen happen to so many other ghosts, but she decides not to, and the justification she gives is, "Oh, you annoy those other three so much, and you're a small soul. I'll just let you go," which is a valid rationalization if you're Colleen, or it could be the niggling voice of Spriggana trying her best. At this point, either could be the case. I definitely think understanding that about Spriggana, or not Spriggana, about Colleen is super important. And it looks like Edge Dancer says if enough people took the vote that she, or took that way of vote a certain way, she will do that. He's saying Coween gave Spriggana a vote, so to speak. So yeah, if the gods are just an amalgamation of like 100 perspectives or souls, and the bigger you are, like maybe Coween's a loud enough no that Coween will listen to her. Agent Fogg says to Mr. Wiggles, "Not all the gods are assholes. We saw a few reasonable gods in the Fey realm." And that's also something interesting that I noticed. That there was a god, the god of the sun, launched an arrow alongside the nukes when Oberyn opened up that crack. So they don't all have to be terrible, apparently, if Oberon's fine with a couple of gods just chilling in his court. Blue Juice. Hello, Blue Juice. Welcome. Shout out to the Rebel of String for negotiating terms with Coween to stall for Aaron's escape. And if Coween keeps the pledge to make Lucina's enemies her own, she's Roshal's worst nightmare. That's a change to the entire narrative. Yeah, if Coween does indeed listen to both Lucina and Svergena, that is a huge sudden potential force for good. Since we're very much not on the side of Rochal in any circumstance, as Lucina showed, it would be interesting, is all I'll say. Oshi, welcome. You have the mic.
Okay. First off, why all assuming just because some god decided I'm gonna eat these souls with a fork and only collect the ones that taste like ginger, that they are somehow nicer and on the path to recovery and greatness? Bitch, please. This is just her revealing that when she eats you, she'll use you a different way. This is not some revelatory moment of change on a personal level. There's the shock that was envisioned by Tammy and the other gods. There's a reason why that was existent. This is rebellious. It's her doing something to change on her terms, on her way, and her things. There's nothing here that the souls are involved in. Even the whole passing phrase about how all of this is you're gonna be a voice in my back. It's still a voice in the background. It's just a voice in the background. She can ignore it. There's nothing really altering her essential nature. She's just collecting the souls that fit the way she wants to be, and uh, that is still the person who eats, destroys souls, and cares not for the living or for anybody else, because as far as she's concerned, they're just toys to make her into something. They're not beings worthy of respect. And there's nothing that's been shown that has changed that perspective for me in any way.
I mean, she did eat Aaron, at the very least. Like, she had her hands on Aaron and could have eaten her but didn't. That could be taken as evidence of a change in some respect.
No, it's not. You're taking the word change as a literal. Why would change necessarily have to be good? No one said that the change is good. There's nothing here that says the change will be for the better or for the benefit of anybody else. You're explicitly taking the content of the words to mean, oh my god, it's going to be a redemptive arc. You're avoiding the fact that change is not always for the better. It's just change. Change is change. Damn it. People are such, like, this is Pirate Apple we're talking about. When has it ever been just that easy?
We've all been surprised before. It definitely doesn't have to be a good change. Like, she might take some negative aspects and end up even in a more antagonistic role, even though she's already sort of an antagonist.
Sean, do you want us to read out the comments so you don't have to?
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
All right. Sorry, go ahead and finish your thought.
That was pretty much the end of it. I was gonna read the comments, but now I shall have you do it. Aha.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Flingering says Kawine is definitely going to get involved in that fight somehow. So, Rashal now has its match. Also, hi, not able to listen right now, but hello. This is Flingering is unfortunately not in the voice channel. Sure, let me see. Edge Dancer and the god of the sun in Phalanx, you mean? Definitely not Apollo. Wait, was there a mention of a god of the sun in Phalanx?
Yes, there was definitely a god of the sun.
No, were we talking about it? I missed it.
I think I mentioned him very briefly. When all of the worlds are unleashing the nukes, a god of the sun shoots an arrow and it kills a Seamwalker.
Right, the young god, the only one, the one who makes a request to do some kind. That was kind of an epic moment with the whole. Can we say something to these assholes before we close the door on their faces? Yes,
Yeah.
go for it. Okay. Mel says Kawain is the youngest of the gods and presents herself as a young woman. The young tend to be adaptable and not as set in their ways. Kawain also is the god of last stands and will take that whatever side has the best story to tell. She roots for the underdog. She has no side but her own. Assumption. Nature is she is the goddess of last stands. Cool. That just means she likes it when people are forced to take last stands. How does that avoid the fact that what if she manipulates things to cause last stands to occur? She comes to the people who there's a lot of not good interpretations of this. Just don't get fooled. As Jen says, it was explicitly different. Don't be obtuse towards Oshi's comment. I responded to that, I hope. Polric agrees and, up arrows. Kaddock says, it is people, please use grammar. Even it is just a voice that's better than any of the other soul deaths that we've seen. Don't know what that means. Kaddock, do you have a mic? Or do you want to expand on what you mean by that? Okay, Kaddock's typing. Do you want me to finish the rest of them or let someone speak?
I think we could hand the mic to Agent Fog.
Hi. Responding to Oshi again. Yes, it's not much. It's very very little what Kawin is doing, but I think it's the point. It's a start. Okay, so for all we know, that's how gods work. So they're just an amalgamation of different people, thoughts of a certain kind. In Kawin's case, rebels. So the rebel of strings, Sprigina, that basically rebelled first against his race, then against the gods again. It's a start. I think that's the whole point. So yes, it's very little now, but maybe it can add up over time.
Picking back up on the comments, Blue Juice says, to Oshi's point, the narrator / Aaron says the goddess found no kindness in Sprigana and Lucina. Maybe she doesn't need Aaron because she can't afford to accept kindness into her being / domain, while her core is made of vengeance and negative emotions. The mechanics and how the gods work, I think that at the very least we got some insight into them. It's all a perspective, or seems to be an important part of it, which reminds me of Oberyn too. Void22 says the fact that she's clearly evil doesn't mean that she isn't doing something substantially different. I would say all of the gods are fairly evil at this point. But even Tamaroth sort of reacts when he sees Kawin open up that portal into her heart for Sprigana. He's like, "What are you doing? That's crazy! This is madness." So it's definitely different. That's indisputable. Mel says Kawin not eating Aaron fits Kawin's character. Kawin stands with the underdogs if she does not want to eat a specific ghost. That from what we know about her, she's the oldest and youngest simultaneously, god of war and youth. I think that's actually very on theme for wanting Aaron, so I'm not sure. She definitely could also just want to be annoying the other three because she knows Aaron annoys the shit out of all of them, which is a valid justification. If it's just a justification or not, we don't know yet.
Hey, Shawn, did you mark off the questions you covered in the document?
I'm on question 2 right now.
Okay. We're half an hour in. Speed it up.
Yeah, I'll do that. Don't worry about it, Shawn.
Okay. Thank you.
Let's move on to the questions. Again, the biggest chapter in the history of Wandering In. I'll try my best. What will Ryoka do now? Where will she go? Back to Israel, or will she stay in Tyrandia to patch things up with Aelin Davis? I have no clue what Ryoka's going to do. I, like Ryoka, was confused about what her purpose was in Aelin Davis almost the entire time until it became obvious. Oh, she needs to warn Vesperi, so it's a mystery to me. Anyone would like to offer some conjecture on where Aaron's probably going next?
While we wait for people to do that, I'll read off a comment from Flingering. Can I drop some pirate praise? Thank you, pirate, for the vignettes of Marken. I can't remember how to pronounce it. I know it's French. Sprigania, Velasmira's lives, etc. that we got as they died. We only knew them for a few chapters overall, but they had 1,000 lifetimes of stories to share. Thank you, Ghost, Praise Hands, and Pirate 2. Lots of hearts and praises and from everybody. Okay, that's my one compliment for the day. There you go. You happy, people?
It was a good compliment. All of our hearts have been warmed.
No one has to know that it's not my compliment. Void22 says very much agreed on that point. Agent Fa goes, the gods are not evil, they are extremely selfish, but they are also at war for their survival. Very generous of you. I'm not that much of a saint. Yeah, and I responded to Void22's earlier comment and said, didn't deny that she isn't doing anything different. Didn't deny that she isn't doing anything different, she being Kawain. Deny that it is some kind of redemptive moment. She is still stealing the afterlife, destroying the eternal rest of everyone. You can't get around that, right? Can you? You got some answers, and I think... Is Mr. Wiggles asking to speak?
He pinged me. The signal has been sent.
Is that what you're...
Did you have a comment to share, Wiggles? Yes, please do.
Okay. On that question, I'm similarly not sure as to where Ryoka will go like you are, Shawn, but I do see like a couple options. Obviously, there's two main options. She stays in Tarandria or she goes to Israel. I think both sides have some pluses and minuses though, because Alien Damas and their immortals are definitely something we want to keep abreast of, and we want to have someone there to show us what's happening in Tarandria and how they're going to, kind of prepare for what's going on in the future. And so and Ryoka kind of fills that informant role very well in Aelin Damas because she already has all the necessary information there, and she also can basically connect with them on a level that not many people can. And she definitely has problems with them now with killing Phthia, but at the same time, she did it in self-defense. And Menorcol and Gila, man, I hate names. They both are on her side for that, basically, because they saw what Phthia was doing. But there's also reasons to go back to Israel because, all of her friends are back in Israel. And I could see her going back with Tyrion in some ways, in some form, just leaving with Tyrion, and we just get a more semi-permanent look into Tarandria through someone else.
I definitely think a return to Israel is on the board. There are many people and things converging in Israel. Terry Arkin and Aaron, the Chandra group, like all of it's happening there. And a concern on Roko's mind is that she's just worried about Mersha. Is Mersha okay? Like questions that would be answered if she returned home. Because there's plenty for her to do.
We got a bunch of people willing to respond now. Let's start with Lord Panther. I don't think Ryoka can stay in Aelindamis anymore after killing the Dryad, Phthia. I believe she's going to be heading to Nalls? Okay. Erebor said 2001 says she should be heading towards the goblins. Mel says where Ryoka goes, she needs a vacation with a mind healer. Maybe just stay in the inn with Aaron for the next few months. Don't go on a job. Don't go on a run. Don't make new immortal friends. Just lay on a couch talking with a mind healer to recover from all the shit she has gone through over the last year. Kara pointed out that Ryoka needs some mental health care. I think everyone does. I think everyone does, right? Shawn?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Kara at one point is just like, you haven't talked to people after your like uncountable near-death experiences? Come on, like therapy for everyone.
Let's not forget the fact that somebody just died and is about to be brought back to life. Oof. Poor Aaron. Agent Fogg says Pirate made Veltris 28, yo. I think it's plain to see where this is going. Wherever Veltris is going, Ryoko will go the opposite direction.
Breaking the hearts of every shipper in the world. Yes.
It's not a
Absolutely.
ship. That is a guarantee, okay?
I guarantee. Oh, you are strong in the delusion there. You never know.
If not Ryoka, there has to be somebody out there, because, look, I need a daddy out there, and he's fitting the role. He's 28, he's got a big butt. Okay, anyway. Blue Juice says Ryoka can't go to the Dawn Concordance. She's a war criminal and traitor there. I'm not so sure about that. Technically, she attacked the Archmage of Memory, not the Dawn Concordant. I mean, they're allies, but they're not going to freak out too much, right?
Yeah, I think if Terriarch comes back was like, hey, that's my simulacra, that instantly all goes away. But I don't think she didn't piss off like Callanfer specifically, or the Order of Seasons, or any of the other factions. It's just Eldavin's faction with Lystrom.
It didn't even work. Like,
yeah, it didn't take.
Yeah, what? That's something we need to like talk about earlier. Like, that's one of the big topics I think you should cover, Shawn. Like,
Terriarch just in general, like
no,
all this.
two things. One is like the theme that underlies the whole chapter, the whole one world is ending, another world is beginning, and the other one is Terriarch's resurrection. Did that work for everybody, right? Because those are, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Sorry, I'm talking too much. Void22 says only until Terriarch rolls up. Erebor says I've always thought the gods were partially the avatars of afterlives. Like the souls just hanging around for eternity in the Deadlands, bored out of their minds, seems unnatural. I think that was an explicit effect of Casigna. I think she made the afterlife that she controls the only place the souls could go, so she could suck them on and eat them, right? Doesn't that seem like a reasonable thing to do before you die? Shawn?
The Cassina sucks up the souls.
Yeah, like think about it. If you know you're gonna die, like they're gonna kill you, they're gonna do something horrible to you. Maybe you set up a contingency where the afterlife is like a featureless plane, and you can hide in it when you're quote unquote dead, and then you use the featureless plane to feed on the souls of the dead as they build up over time, and you come back. It's disgusting to think about, but that's exactly what they did, right?
Yeah, that is just a summary of what's been happening so far. So
Yeah.
I think there's some merit to that. And Cassina can like do that disgusting void goat impression, where she also turns into a giant soul sucking malt and just brings everyone in. Their plans are pretty dastardly, I'll definitely say.
Oh my god, I just had a moment of epiphany. Look at what Erebor 2001's response to Agent Fogg saying Veltris is 28. Tyrion has a Princess Seraphel to hook up with now.
Yeah.
I hadn't considered that. He's young enough now. It doesn't even matter if he's young enough now. It's a political marriage. I mean, he just become Ghost Princess, and he's, oh my god, Pirate, don't do it. Don't do it.
Princess Seraphel's known as the cursed princess. Everyone she dates dies like a month later or something, is the rumor.
Yes.
That's bad for Tyrion's health. I don't know
She's
if I
the
agree with her.
dutiful, right? Anyway. Mr. Europe says, is Minarkle and Galal on her side? Sure, this is in response to Wiggle's comment about Ryoka. Is Minorkle and Galal on her side? She's sure she saved their lives, but she's also killed their mom. Even if they speak out in her defense, they probably don't want her around. Yeah, she pretty much pulled off another Aaron moment where they tell her to go away. It's got to happen. Blue Juice is back on the menu, says, would it be thematically appropriate if after killing the last Dryad, the wand Ryoka sold way back when gets used to plant the seed for a new Dryad at her tree? That's a reach. Is that a reach, Shawn?
The Head of Vault really enjoys that wand, I think. But when I remember when Ivolith explains what it truly is, it's also very depressing, like extremely sad. Ryoka definitely owes Menarken and Gilal and the Dryad race, which she just extinguished, something for what she did. She had good reasons. She was being attacked and she was defending her life legitimately. It was in self-defense, but she has to do something. Ryoka did have a very smart moment here that I don't think Volume 1 Ryoka would have did. She was about to run away after killing Phthia, but she stops, looks at Menarkel and Gilal, and goes and explains to them, "I have something I need to tell you."
Oh
But
my god, I forgot that. It was a little confusing when I first read it. What? Oh, so she going back and telling? Yeah, that's very logical. And then I remembered Ryoka. You just remind me. Ryoka doesn't do that ever. She doesn't take responsibility. She runs.
yes, that huge character growth moment. Here's this horrible thing that I did. I have to own up to it because you will never forget if I just leave you here after killing your mom. And
I was busy trying to spit in her face and say, "Go resurrect Terry, you bitch." Um. Oh wow, yeah. That was a big one. I didn't even notice it. Did anybody else notice it? Did you guys? What did you guys think of it? Could we get a little prey? I'm gonna put a little poll up if you don't mind, Shawn.
yeah, please.
Um,
Ryoka can only kill old people. Lamau, Edge Dancer, Geriatric Slayer. Now we know what class Ryoka would get if she would ever buy into the system. Hospice care, like something in that category. Mr. Europe, lol. No way that Teryak will ever admit he was Eldavan. It's too humiliating. Honestly, yeah. I mean, he sort of fell for the classic trap of the simulacra.
polls
And
up, yes or no? Go for it. Yeah, that was just so like geriatric. You know, there are many reasons to say geriatric slayer. Uh, just saying. We uh, which ones did you cover? I think I had one more. Is there one more comment left?
there's Edge Dancer and Blue Juice.
Okay.
Edge Dancer doesn't think that eating souls is normal, which I also agree with. Don't eat souls.
Mm. And Blue Juice says the poor man thought he was a unicorn. It's mortifying when, in response to Mr. Europe's terrier comment. And Edge says, I think Casignal is supposed to be a purgatory of sorts. Heavy doubt on it being normal to eat souls. I don't think that anybody would be on the god side if it was normal. Your reward for serving the gods is being an appetizer. I know, right? All right. Oh, I think the poll's done. We have 4 people who noticed Ryoka's quote. Sorry, 3 people who noticed Ryoka. I keep forgetting to include myself. 4 people who noticed Ryoka's growth, and 7 people who didn't. Like, shit. I guess it was too subtle.
There's a lot going on. It seems like a lot of the conversation right now is around Terriarch, and he did die briefly. It didn't take in his dragon form, so I'd like to bring the discussion towards that now. Where is Terriarch going right now? To find Tesseris and help Eren get her body back, or to Randria to sort the mess he left with the Terrace faction, Don Concorment, Ale and Damus? Yeah, the entire world right now is just a mess that Terriarch has to clean up. Basically, he has much to do and many obligations to meet. I think the most interesting thing is that he definitely talked to ghosts. In the moments that he was dead, I think at the very end of the part of the chapter, he says, "Oh, the ghosts were talking to me. They told me that it's up to me. I'm needed. The wind chose me. I have shit tons to do." And that's the impression that I got. Like he got the lowdown on just everything that's happening in the ghost world, and like how critical it is that he acts. He's basically the dragon's chess piece at this point, because the gnomes weren't the only one fighting against the gods. The dragons clearly had a part to play too, so they were doing stuff, and he is their sort of influence on the world. I do think he's gonna go resurrect Eren. It explicitly mentions that he made a promise to an innkeeper that he has to go keep, and then it ends with him flying out of his cave, which I thought was just beautiful. He's been trapped in his cave for so long. He shouldn't be in there. He's a dragon. He deserves to fly. And this sort of is the herald of the end of the waning world. Terriarch is taking wing, full effort, trying to help the world. And there's plenty to be excited about there, and to be relieved about that he's even alive. It looks like Oshi wants to speak, so the mic is yours.
Oh my god. Okay. Okay. So this leads into the earlier thing I was talking about, the theme of the chapter. So there's so much that happens. I don't know if Pirate did a good job of like what everyone else's opinion is, but of whether or not Pirate did a good job of creating like a connective tissue, or if it's like the end of so many different arcs that there's no connective like theme to it. Personally, for me, the connective theme was a blessing at the end of a like everything was supposed to be a last stand, and then a trick. Like, sorry, I'm not saying this right. So the last chapters with the gnomes and shit was all about tricking the gods and leaving behind a legacy. This is what that theme continues into this chapter, but in this form, it's the last stand, and before the last stand, they leave behind all of the things that they need to make sure the world can fight the dead gods. Teriarch is that for the dragons. Teriarch is the blessing of like all the dragon lores and all the other shit. What confused the fuck out of me until I thought about it for a second, they knew about the resurrection scroll before we did, because all the dragons were in Balaros with all the other worms and all the other peoples, right? So not only did they know about the resurrection scroll, they probably knew that Teriarch was going to end up dead, because it's been told to us multiple times that his daughter followed him around and that the dragons kept track of each other, and that he doesn't defend himself from ghosts. So, and if ghosts aren't speaking to him but they're tracking what he's doing, they would have noticed the dumbass created a simulacrum. They would have noted that the simulacrum went somewhere, and they would have had the gnomes to predict what the god of magic would do and how easily like they had to have planned this from the start, with the idea that if anything went wrong, they could use Ryoka to revive him, or use not Ryoka. It's not going to be Ryoka. The fucking worm dude, whatever his name is, and force him to revive him. Like, there is so much. All of this is in service to say Pirate planned this out 2 years in fucking advance. I've been saying it for 2 years, couching it in narrative language, but really, I knew Teriarch was going to die. Whether the fact that he came back was a little predictable, but only because I've been reading it with such fervor and paying attention to everything and Nancy drawing it around. Was it as obvious to everyone else that one, Teriarch was going to die, guaranteed, and two, that the resurrection scroll was going to get used on him? I have a whole theory about the resurrection stone. I don't want to derail it, Shawn, but how cool would it have been if Ryoka fucked up, cried about it, nobody came to help her, and she ended up reviving Eren, and Eren got a second body, and we had Saren and Eren.
I too love Saren and deeply wish that Saren could stay, but that'd be a bit. It's such a massive mistake.
It's just a small thing, but maybe we still get Saris and Eren. They make Saris a new body and they stick his soul in it, and then Eren can. Who knows? Anyway,
Like getting used to the ghosts and learning about them and like falling in love with them because they're awesome. Like Velzimri's Last Stand, where he sets off a nuke. The Celt rulers, like all of them, and then having to say goodbye as they get brutally taken by the gods. Definitely very, very awful.
oh, and to answer your question, because nothing I said answered your question. Where is Teriarch going right now? It doesn't matter. He's a fucking dragon. He can land anywhere and he'll change the world because he's the Dragon Lord of fucking Flame. Who the hell? He could go anywhere. But probably the Newt, you know.
Yeah, the convergence of characters. I did not think Teriarch would die, and I did not think he would come back. Both completely caught me off guard. I didn't think the Scroll of Resurrection worked at long distances, but it clearly does. It was very surprising to me the way that turned out, and I'm sort of glad the Scroll Resurrection is gone now. There's no more like safety net for any characters, which is sort of like what it mentally was for me. Like any character could potentially come back, and now that it's gone, the story's it's always been
Yeah,
but it's
Shawn's right. Let's kill everybody.
No, don't kill everybody.
So what you're saying is you want to murder everybody, Shawn. Just say it. I don't understand why you're so mean.
I love these characters. Don't make me say I want to kill these characters. Mr. Wiggles, you have something to say. The mic is yours, sir.
Yeah, I agree that the Null Moot is definitely the most likely place Terriarch is going to go because, as he mentioned in the last paragraph, let me bring it up real fast. One second, trying to find it. He said, "The Dragonlord Lord of Flame woke up and knew it was time. Time for the innkeeper whom Ghost spoke of. A debt owed, another moment of defiance." So he already has mentioned Aaron in that, but the debt he owed is almost certainly the debt he promised to Ryoka earlier in like 8.04 or something like that, or it was one of the early Terriarch slash Eldavin chapters this volume where he promised to revive Aaron as soon as he was done in Wistrom. And so I'm pretty sure that's the debt that's being talked about right now. So rather than going and fixing the things he screwed up in Tarandra, he's going to go to the Newt real fast and try and fix Cesarin.
Yeah, Kel mentioned Cicerin is potentially meeting Onavia and encouraging her to be herself as like another plot hook, which could potentially happen and be huge.
Even like a 5-minute conversation between them, like clearly Saris is not shy. Maybe he was in real life and he changed a little bit in death and is like, yeah, fuck this, I'm good. I'm just gonna be myself. Just that aspect of it, a quote unquote turncoat being out loud and proud, especially someone of such significance, it does create a very difficult to like deal with for Drake society and a really good inspiration for Aniva. You want to tackle some of the comments, or
Yeah, I'll tackle some of the comments. We have Edge Dancer says, "I can't wait for Terry to take a page from Yoka and just run away from the problems. Not anymore. Rip. She's learned. She's better than that now."
no? It's Terry.
Yeah, Ryoka.
No. He's saying he can't wait for Terriarch to take a page from Ryoka and just run away. Meaning he thinks Terriarch's going to run away.
Oh, like he could run pretty fast. I don't think anyone could catch him. I think he's running to a purpose, though. Not gonna go retire somewhere. Agent Fogg says, "Sorry, who is Terriarch?" Oh, geez. Are you talking about Terrium Archelius Dorish, Terriarch South Vernice, Terriarch of Carousel? Yeah, Terriarch's
You
full
got that
name.
name. Oh wow, that was
Almost
good.
Latin. That's just what I
It
thought.
is
I
Latin.
tried.
I think it is Latin. Yeah.
Yeah, Terriarch's full name is very, very cool. And it's made funnier that the abbreviation for him is just Terry, because it's still valid for all of them, so it works. His mom called him that. We know that for a fact.
Terry.
Kel says what you're saying is Terriarch is going to go full ass this time, and yes, 100% ass, no ass left behind, except for Rafama, who is in his cave. So that's a little ass left behind, but I don't think he knows her. They never spoke. It was a one night stand.
Oh my god, no! Look, until she's a full ass dragon adult, I know timescales are different for immortals, but she still feels like a teenager to me. And Terriarch, we've already had the weird, Terriarch has sex with people because he like is vigorous because of magic. It's really weird. I don't know why. It just feels icky. Say it.
That's a whole question of itself.
But comments.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah.
people were talking about Rafama. How do they think like she's going to react that she's found Terriarch? Is she going to follow him, or is she going to sulk in the cave abandoned once again? And if she does follow, will she follow as a dragon or transform into her Drake appearance? And that's a question from Wiggles. I think Rafama's performance this chapter was kind of abysmal. She fought like a drake because it's all that she knew how to do, and pretty much got stomped by the eater goats, the worm lord, the horrible Brioka facsimile, and just in general lost completely. She doesn't know how to fight as a dragon, and she doesn't speak Draconic. The Worm Lord tries to communicate with her, and she responds with English. And the Worm Lord's confused because they should, I think, have some more understanding. And there was plenty of just misunderstandings in general of Rafema. The Worm Lord thought she was challenging both him and Teriarch to the territory. So I think that she should definitely follow Teriarch transformed as a dragon. Like she has no idea how to be a dragon clearly, and Teriarch is like peak dragon. That's a good learning experience for her. And if he's taking wing, there's no reason why she shouldn't as well, right behind him.
Hackrat says, too deep. This was needed plot holes. I expect that was to my comment. Void22 says, I don't think it was quite as planned down, as Oshi is making it sound in universe. I don't think it was planned out, but all of the pieces I was talking about from a narrative perspective, and that Pirate wrote it out, that the information was there, that it was a variable plan, that the gnomes were involved, so all of it could make sense, and there are all these pieces that work together. And it's just such well done pirate planning, not people in world planning. Blue Juice is back on the menu, says, shout out to Rasvari for going from attempted child murderer to tragic hero, going through shock. Was some or all of this all a horrible joke on Ivalith and Oberon's part? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing. I don't even question that. I mean, it's the Fae. Yeah.
Oberon's a trickster. He winks at Droka as he's having his grand exit from the stage. Like,
I
of
mean,
course it's a trick.
there's stories that Puck, the trickster, and the whole play is like every single story I've ever heard about the Fae. Sometimes there's always a trickster, and I always just assumed it was Oberon in disguise.
No one ever gets what they want from the Fae. And Risveri would know that if he listened to Ryoka, and that's from the text, but he didn't. So he got played.
Krat says, also, at least the fake-out death was interesting. What fake-out death? We're talking about Terrier? Packrat? Blue Juice, in response to Blue Juice, he says, when has he killed children? Using children as fodder like the... Yeah, child soldiers. Also, technically, he did try to murder... What was the kid's name? Samil? So technically, he was an attempted child murder. Edge Dancer says, Red Scroll wouldn't do that, right? Right? Dude, we don't know what the Red Scroll would do. Imagine it was asked to resurrect Erin, but there was already a soul occupying her body, and there was every indication that the dead, when Risvar's brother talked about it, that the resurrection scroll didn't need a body. It could make the body. Otherwise, what use would it be? Hashtag Risvari has done nothing wrong. Fuck off, Packrat. He's done plenty wrong. I'm sorry, but it's true. He's an evil bastard. He's not evil bastard. He's a bastard. Edge Jester says, wouldn't Res Scroll try to evict Ceres? I responded, what did you think, Shawn?
All I know is that the Red Scroll just asks you who you want to bring back. I don't think it's an anti-possession scroll. It could, I suppose. I guess it would, at the very least, grab Erin's soul and either construct for her a new body, like Oshi was saying, or put her in like the closest nearby body. I know there was a fan theory that she would end up in Teriarch's body somehow.
Oh my god, could you imagine? Ew.
Dragon Erin, like we have the chaos. The
chaos. And in Teriarch's body, he's a dude, man. He's a dude, and we're gonna have body dysmorphia on top of all that. Ugh. Polric goes, he's in response to Packrat's question, when has he killed children? He also exhibits traditional worm behavior, aka just going to random libraries, killing the librarians, and taking shit. Airbird 2001 says, excuse me, that's worm behavior? Polaric goes, I think it's draconic from their species-wide trait of hoarding and getting them by force if necessary. Terrak said in 8.04 that he used to just pull up to the homes of archmages and straight up steal spellbooks and artifacts. Kind of implies that he's a thief more than it implies that he killed anybody. But I take the point. It's probably similar, right? Airbo 2000 says, "Don't let a worm catch you saying that. Might acid your face off." Mel, in response to Shawn saying Rizvari's brother was there and told everyone, Rizvari got a tongue lashing from all the dead draconic ghosts about what he was doing wrong in life. Question, will he change? Answer, most likely nope, since he is Rizvari. Kel was being nice. Polaric says, I don't think it's ever stated that Teriarch had sex with humans/mortals in TWI canon time. Not going to respond to that one. Eldavin doesn't count because that was after their personalities separated in Paradigm Shift 2, and Magnolia was only implied from Regis, who was trying to get a rise out of her. Okay. Mel says, can we get a fanfic of Dragon Aaron? Sounds like a lot of crazy fun. Alright, Shawn. That's all of it.
The backlog has been defeated. Thank you. I think I'll take us to the next question, since the Teriarch theming seems to want to continue. How will Terry feel when he wakes up from the land of the dead with a young female dragon snuggling him? Do you guys think he will react to Rafema positively or negatively? I'm of the opinion that he knows that he has a lot of work to do, and the dragons just told him as much, or at least the ghosts did. He probably will see Rafema and take her under his wing. That'll be a mentorship role, not a lust role. I want to clarify, definitely not anything but a father-daughter role, which is
Yeah, that
always
stopped the creepies before. Ugh.
a Teriarch does not be creepy.
Look, we have within the fandom quite a few cultured people who read things like NTR and shit and hentai, and I'm sure they'll have something. I'm just expecting some kind of terrible artwork where Rafema's going, oh, Daddy, Flame Daddy.
Pain for everyone. Yeah, I don't think that there's anything there. I read most of Teriarch's relationships with the multiple young women throughout the series as father-like, because he's just so old. Even Rafema coming across him, noticed how he was ancient. He's like the oldest dragon there is, basically. I think even Rizvari says that. So, and he's got shit to do. So it'll be interesting to see. Agent Fogg says, didn't Terry just left? We know he took wing, so he'll probably say something to Rafema on the way out.
I don't think we should take that section literally either, right, Shawn? Because that's all, like, clearly Pirate's going to go over what happens after he comes back, because he's not going to just, like, get up and be like, let's get the fuck out of here, and leave behind, Miss Maid. God, I can't remember her name.
Ressa, that's right. Ressa is there.
Yeah. Right there, he's not going to leave behind without. I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot of time, but he's just not going to, like. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right for him to just like up and leave.
I mean, Fetoheb did the exact same. Fetoheb did just up and leave. Things were so pressing.
Yeah, but he took people with him, right? He got a ship. He got everybody moving. He went around, collected stuff, and then got on a ship, right? He literally took everybody with him.
Fetoheb took the people who could keep up with him. Such was his pressing need for speed.
Well, but then he sent people. Then he sent the crazy carpet rider people back to pick more people up, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying Teriarch will say nothing as an entire flight to the Nullmoot. He's going to be casting spells probably in a similar fashion and getting things moving. But I don't think Ressa could keep up with him, and I don't think he would let Ressa ride on his back. He'll definitely say something to her and Rafema, though. That I don't dispute. Like, we just haven't seen it yet. Mr. Europe thinks that he has ignored the situation completely and is flying the fuck away. I don't agree with that. He has a quest now, and he's gonna do stuff. and I think we just need to see more the next chapter. Blue Juice says, I think he will be shamed into realizing he's failed another brave young girl. Rafe is another Harpy Empress, or Mags, or Rilka, or Aaron, and he won't ignore her. Yeah, if you really like examine all of the young women that Terrak has a relationship with, they seem to be similar in personality, or at the very least, like they're strong-willed and good people, more or less. And I think you'll see the same thing in Rafe, and Terrak's partial to having a positive relationship and helping those young women out. Visionary says, to me, the chapter ended and he's frozen in the air, 1 centimeter over the ground. Yes. The volume ending is here. Every chapter has been a heart stopper, doubly so for Terriarch. It is incredible. We're all very excited for the next one, just to see how it all pans out. Time has stopped. We're all in an immortal moment. Polaric says he did not have to, but he had promised. The girl, it was always that girl. It always had been. And then a very scary emoji of some kind. But yes, I think his goal is probably the null moot, probably to Aaron, as Blue Juice was saying earlier. Mel says Magnolia will be jealous. I don't know where Magnolia is right now. Presumably,
She's still in Oteslia. Like, as far as we know, she's still in Oteslia.
right. So Magnolia is still in Altestia, and then Ressa left with Rafema on the Pegasus.
Ressa left without telling Rafema that, like, she sent agents everywhere. My expectation is that she sent Rafema to the north and had Ressa trail behind, like, go to Terriarch's cave without telling Rafema. Like, remember, Leonette, what was commandeered the carriage for Rafema, right? As a favor. Magnolia probably knew what she was using it for, and she was like, okay, Ressa, go wake Terriarch up before the bitch gets there.
Yeah, that's right. I lost track. It was so
Yeah.
long ago, but that's how she
I
got
paid
there.
attention because, Terriarch gonna die, right?
It wasn't very long. It wasn't very long. At
I
least.
was right.
You were
I
very
was
right.
right.
If you called it, that's an amazing call.
I've been calling it for 2 years. People have been spitting in my face about it. Someone back me up. Do I need to get notes, receipts?
I believe you. We all believe you. We just didn't want to believe Terriarch would die. Part-time Hermit says Ressa's role is done since he's been Ressa-rected. Thank you, Part-time Hermit. Magnolia. Polaric says as a response to Mr. Mel, Magnolia will be jealous, and Polaric says she was explicitly jealous of Rilka hogging Terry's time in 7.31. Kel says he knows Ressa well enough. He might very well carry her along and drop her off at or near Australia so he can update Mags. She can update Mags. Yeah, I think Terriarch has a good relationship with Ressa. All the dragons have been like, we're only doing it because we have to eat like tsundere every time they're using themselves or they're transporting someone and anyone's riding them. We'll probably get the exact same thing from Terriarch if he ever has to do it. Packrat says, don't know if you guys have already discussed this, but was anyone else disappointed in the wisdom or whatever that Seraphil got? Like, geez, so boring. Live well nonsense. I mean, when you're dying and you're talking to your descendants, I would hope that would be good advice. I think that's fine. They're just like trying their best. Not every ghost probably has a buried sword somewhere that's super helpful. So I mean, it's totally understandable if they just give their actual last words. So keep the discussion on Ressa. There was a question about her. Has Ressa been replaced by the doppelganger she fought from Mr. Wiggles? I'd like to say just real quickly, yes, no, absolutely not. I don't think so because she's crying outside of Terriarch's cave.
Exactly.
When Rafema is like, lying next to dead Terriarch. And from what we've seen about the body snatcher, the doppelganger, it's not good at speaking or really mimicking human emotions.
Unless she says something at this when Rafema arrives that she's not, that indicates that she's checking if Rafema is one of the doppelgangers. So she's been fighting for a while and is like, yeah, you're not one of the copies. You can go. Remember?
Yeah. She definitely talks. And that leads us into now that rests as bare, and she knows it's Teriak going to come out of his cave, also known as coming out of hiding. The real shit is happening, and he can't stay out of this fight. He was just murdered by the god of magic. Regardless of his resurrection, he's a player on the board and cannot stay out of this fight. Are we going to see true dragons fighting on Weistrom TV? And that's questions from Mel. I think absolutely. They're pulling out all the stops everywhere. It's not time to hide anymore. The dragons are going to come into play. I don't think Teriarch is even going to attempt to hide his identity anymore. Things are too important to do so.
You think so?
I mean, yeah, he knows the stakes, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, but does that require his revealing himself to everybody?
He would speak as an age from before the waning world, and when he says there's an emergency, I am agreeing with Celt and Drath and every nation. We all need to muster. Things are about to get real. I think that would come. People would listen to him. Tolm the Mithril, who we know is a dragon slayer and was looking for dragons. Tolm didn't care about the Titan's answers to his question. He says explicitly, "I don't care where the dragons are right now. The world is about to undergo an emergency equal to the Crawler World Wars. This is more important." And I don't see the
I
main
disagree.
reason. The main reason Teriak hides, in my eyes, is just because people are going to come to kill him because they've been killing dragons for centuries.
Here's why I disagree. So Teriarch is. You guys think that there has to be a reveal moment where I think everybody's picturing him arriving at the Newt and unveiling himself, and then he unfurls his wings and roars and everybody calm the fuck down in his dragon voice. But that's not what I'm seeing happen here. Teriarch can be a massive influence, reveal himself to the Drake City. His presence will change everything because the Drakes will automatically go we're going to follow this dragon here. It's going to unite them. There's so many little aspects, and Chandrar is going to panic, and Fedorhep's going to go kill the dragon! Kill the dragon! It's going to change the conversation too much. I do believe he'll be involved. I do believe he'll explicitly start acting as Teriarch the dragon, rather than Eldavin, the guy on the side who's sort of half kind of doing stuff. But I don't think he's going to do a wig reveal and just be yes, I was Teriarch all along. That's not going to happen, guys. I honestly can't see it happening because it puts a giant target on his back that he's always had, but it makes it even worse. Also, it explicitly ties him into too many things. His goal right now should be kill the dead gods, get Eren back. Not in that order. So, doing it by revealing himself is probably not the best way to do it. Oh my god, I'm gonna throw up. Sorry. Food's coming up.
Take a break. Grab some water. Rest.
I did. That's why I'm hiccuping.
Quick recovery. Anything that'll help. Edmund Delacorn says the doppelganger needs to work on their execution, I think is what he's trying to say.
Elocution. It's
Elocution,
a word.
yeah. It's how they for those who don't know, elocution is how you speak. If you want to Google search it, it's the skills of clear and expressive speech, especially of a distinct pronunciation and articulation.
I've learned a new word today. Thank you, sir.
Also, I'm pretty sure Pirate used that as one of their word of the days. I think Nier said that to the doppelganger when it was outside his little cave.
That's an amazing catch, and I will go find that as soon as this is over, because that's very cool. If that's the case, it means the doppelganger has just been learning from everyone, and it did show up as Ryoka, so it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Polaric says there have been so many hints about Teriarch revealing himself, but this is probably the most explicit one, and it's a quote. Tidebreaker, even the Antinium are recent tales. The death of magic is the oldest of stories. Like a dragon of ancient days re-emerging, not the hatchlings who sometimes appear every few centuries.
Who said that?
Polaric said that.
No. The quote. Who said that?
Someone
was it an omniscient thing, or was it a comment from somebody? Oh, Zuru said that. Okay, cool. An 8.30.
Nice. I definitely some foreshadowing. If Terriarch does come back in full wing, well, we can only see. I know you don't think so, Oshi, but I don't think dragons are ever subtle either. And if he's putting all his effort into something, he's probably going to be unashamedly dragon about it.
He's also super smart. He's been
He-
a spy. He's a Tinker Tailor spy.
That's true. He might be subtle about it, but when the time comes, there's definitely going to be a dramatic reveal. I'll
Oh,
bet you. Brack says, I don't think he cares too much about hiding beyond avoiding trouble. He was just murdered while hiding. It kind of defeats the purpose of maintaining the guys. Yet, Emery, the god of magic, sniped Terriarch successfully. I don't think he can really count on hiding as an effective strategy anymore. And if hiding doesn't work, might as well come out in full wing.
I don't see why people think that maintaining some distance between the public knowing his identity and revealing his identity to powers is different. Like, not everybody's gonna know, right? That's the difference.
I mean, I think he's going to reveal himself. It's sort of like if this war is going to be just as bad or worse than the Kreeler Wars, well, we know of how a dragon came out and helped people during the Kreeler Wars. So I see sort of similarities there.
Yeah, the dragons are big players, and Terriarch's a name that's in the history books. I think Rosveri mentions him at one point, just offhandedly, not knowing, and then he recognizes the name later when Ryoka explicitly tells him who Dalvin is. And then Terriarch also name drops the Dragon Lords of War and Waves, who are still alive, and presumably are also going to play some part in the emergency that's currently engulfing the entire world. Brack says just because he can keep another simulacrum doesn't mean he has to keep Eldavin. He can be someone else, and that's true. Eldavin was his secret disguise. Eldavin was Terriarch trying to be subtle, and he was heralded as a genius archmage, like one of the best spellcasters in the world. I don't think the Terriarch can do subtle super well. Every time he has tried, he usually like lets slip some secret or some amazing thing accidentally and not even realize it. Like when he paid Ryoka 800 gold coins for a run, like he's just too out of touch, and he's sort of learning a little bit more. I think he'll probably be a little bit more noticeable, especially now.
Mel, we skipped over Mel. I do not think Terrier will out himself explicitly on purposes, but I can see some situation where he has to forego secrecy for results. At that time, some people will find out about him. How far that information goes is the question. Sorry.
You're good. Polaric posted a quote.
Don't read the quote. Don't read the quote. It's too long.
Okay.
It's from 8.36, and just that's the quote Shawn was referring to when he was talking in the conversation.
Right. Yes. The quote shall be posted there for all to see. Part-time Hermit says, "Come to think of it, Kershaya never knows the name, but never thought to look it up in a history book." Definitely a failure on her part.
No, they don't have books. They're not used to books. They don't look up history, right?
I know that you're right. Most of their traditions are oral, so it probably doesn't go back that far. That's definitely changing now with the Storyteller of Worlds, and they're uncovering the dastardly plot of the Knolls, and books are going to be super important for that. Brax says, still underpaid for a delivery to Az. Yes, that was a suicide run, Terriarch. You're kind of a jerk. You should apologize to Ryoka about that at some point. He does. He definitely does. Terriarch, Agent Fogg says Terriarch will put on a mustache and introduce himself again as, "Hi, I'm an Eldavot." It might work, honestly. I like Clark Kent as a disguise works, so Terriarch putting on glasses and a fake
Why
mustache.
not?
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, why not? If Superman could do it, Terriarch could do it.
Terriarch's Superman in this world. I'll accept that. That's fine. Kel says, I don't see him using another simulacrum after what just happened, but if Rafema can shapeshift, Terry probably can too. That's a good point. We see Rafema she just does it. She shapeshifts in and out of a Drake form from Dragon, And she takes potions in her Drake form to heal herself when she's damaged as a dragon. And if that's just an inherent ability of dragons, then well, Terry can do anything Rafema can do, just full stop. But he can probably also definitely shapeshift. I'd agree. Tomeo says if Terry is to be forced to reveal himself, it would be Bella's doing to cause chaos. Yeah, Bellavir and Terriarch.
My God, that's a whole question, right? What is Bellavir gonna do? Because she's the cockroach that sides with whoever pays her, and she's not gonna want the gods around. Or is she?
Eldavin did not know Bellavir, but I think Terriarch does. And he's the Dragon Lord of Flame, and Bella has to run away from flames. So I assume he will show up and upbraid her as one of the people on the level of Bellavir that can like really threaten her, like Zern, the Small Queen, level threat. So
Technically, Zern was not a threat, right?
I mean, she lost, but Bellavir had to take that combat seriously and burn some powerful relics that she was very upset about because they were so expensive just to fight her. So
I mean, the round went to Bellavir. She won.
she definitely did win. Like
She
Zern had to
won.
run away with her face ripped off, but she also had to fight, and that is in a way, your opponent taking you seriously, in my opinion. Cosmic Chaos says, if only Liscor had a public library. Libraries are awesome in this world, and if you get to cast a spell for free because you're a librarian, I think every city should have a library because that's awesome. Mel says the archmages at Weistrom are foolish enough to fall for it.
Or assholes enough to be like, yeah, we totally believe you. Now tell us about magic.
Yes, Oshi. I think maybe they even figured out he was a simulacrum already, and we're just rolling with it because he's just spouting out secrets constantly. They would accept whatever cover he gave if he tried to come back and just take his role again.
They probably didn't figure out he was a simulacrum, but they did figure out he's lying about his identity and all that bullshit, right? Or somebody did, I hope. Oh my God. Can you imagine if nobody in the entire thing suspected anything? How stupid is Western?
There's one competent man in Weistrom, according to Fettelhep, and it's Galay, the Archmage of Illusions. And I'd agree with that. He's done really intelligent things. Like he was designing.
Is he an Archmage?
He's the leader of the Ulusanoi.
Ulusanoi, but I don't think he's.
I don't think he's a sitting Archmage, but also there's like politics of it. He has his own faction that listens to him though, and since they don't have the classes to really differentiate anymore, that's pretty much as good as being an Archmage.
Polaric says Bella wouldn't antagonize Terry at all, considering he's the Dragon Lord of Flame, and he considers her a busybody who isn't in the same league of threat as him at all. 7.25 quote. That's true. That is true. The pirate did say that.
The most ancient of dragons, and we know dragons get stronger in magic the longer they age. And Eldavin's reservoir of mana was apparently almost limitless, to the surprise of everyone in Alien Damus. So yeah, I would believe.
So it wasn't that limitless.
I mean, that was Emerhane's spell sniping him, though. I think he was just drawing on his natural magic reserves.
Right, but think about it. You suck it out of his body, and then push it back into his body, and then suck it out of his body and push it back into his body until he has a heart attack. That was the purpose of the spell. Infinite mana, my ass. Poor guy. Poor guy.
How Emerhane killed Terriarch was super cool. I thought it made sense in an odd way that he's just overloading Terriarch through this link that he has. But yeah. Part-time Hermit says, imagine if he decided to turn into a white gnoll. Who? The Terriarch turning into a white gnoll? The Doombearer dragon?
As his new disguise, he turns himself into a white gnoll.
Oh, there's no amount of luck in the entire universe that's gonna save you from trying to kill Doombearer Terriarch. So that'd be fun. Yes. Wasn't Eldavin at the inn, not the simulacrum? When he visited sometime in Volume 7, I believe he was there in person.
No. Wait, the question's a little confusing. So, the first time he visited it, he used a variation of the simulacrum that wasn't as deep to present himself as Eldavin at the inn. Teriarch was like channeling through that version of the spell the whole time, so it wasn't a simulacrum so much as a projection. And then when he decided to half-ass it, he sealed himself up and created a simulacrum, like a permanent one that could act independently. I think that's the division. Or am I wrong, Shawn?
Yes, I remember
I'm
that
wrong?
No, you were correct. He was there in his full capacity, maybe not physically, but in such that like he had all his memories, and he wasn't like Eldavin was for most of this volume. It was a different version of the spell, like you were saying.
Right. Blue Juice goes, will Wyvern Lord join the family? What family? Oh! Oh god, how cool was that scene, Shawn? The one where the Wyvern Lord, like, Rafema finally realizes that punching things is not a good idea and just pays them a price and then just like leaves.
That was a great establishing, like, here's how dragon culture works. Give me all of your things and you live to live. I thought that was great. It really was. And the Wyvern Lord's pack was watching them fight, and they were like, if the Wyvern Lord loses, we could see ourselves joining Rafema. Like, she's kind
He
of
seems
cute.
cool. She's cool. She's
Well,
got this.
they say cute. They think Rafema's cute. That's
She's so cute. Bella is threading dangerous waters from Agent Fog. Threads are no threat to Terry. She hasn't threatened Terry yet. It's more, she's a spider, so she's gonna fuck with everybody else. So if the Dragon Lord shows up, she won't withdraw. What she'll do is, I believe what she'll do is go up to Teriarch and go, says, hey, do you need my services? Meanwhile, she has a 3 different, like, bargains made so that she can kill anybody who pisses her off. I don't know. That's what Belvier feels. Is that right? How does Belvier feel to you, Shawn?
in what respect? Like as a
Like,
character, or
as a character, what do you think she's gonna pull off here?
she is the end of every good tale. Like she is the archetype of the evil witch, from what I read. So I would imagine whatever she decides to do, it's probably going to be bad. But I don't see her standing up against Teriarch. I think Teriarch would just slap her down if it came down to it and she was getting in the way. And we know that the witches are pacted to fight the gods as well.
Oh,
Bella,
that's true. But she got kicked out of the witch club, didn't she?
she's still a witch, though. I don't know.
That's true.
Her coven hates her, and she has been branded as a traitor. I don't know how far she's willing to go. I think the witches honor their oaths generally, and Bellavere probably would as well if she's told the stakes. But we'll see. All I know is that anywhere that Bellavere goes, it usually goes bad. So if they could direct that towards the gods, great. And if they can't, that's a problem that they're going to have to deal with.
Right. We have a bunch of responses to the Galay thing, and then why don't you take over for Coldbringer's whole thing, okay?
Sure.
Okay. So Edgedancer says Galay isn't an Archmage. Mr. Europe says it's possible that Galay could become an Archmage if he wanted to, but he doesn't. Mel says Galay doesn't want the title of Archmage since it would put too much of a spotlight on them. Galay wants anonymity as much as possible. Brack says that's also partially his own fault for fighting Cognita and messing up. I guess that was in reference to talk about Teriarch's damage. Mel responds to Coldbringer, I'll let you manage that. Edmund says Wyvern's thought Rafima was cute. Yep. Tomia says Frost Wyvern, Lord, X Rafima, enemies to levers. To be honest, Ray would pick the Wyvern oversight.
Brutal. Truly brutal, and also probably accurate. Sire's a bit of a ditz of a dragon, but
This is
yeah,
just like, he's not impressive. I don't care. He's
he's
not
he's
impressive.
he's a teenage dragon,
He's
making
not a
all.
teenage dragon. It's bullshit. Let's move. He's an old man trying to be a teenager. Let's move on.
Okay, to Coldbringer's question then. I'm wondering at the future of Eistrom's Terra's faction, personally. Will Teriarch fess up and admit that he was Eldavin and continue his leadership of the faction, or will he ignore it? for better or worse, the terrorist faction really is a good idea, and that's one of the most effective ways to revitalize the world's magic and prepare the world for a Queller War 2.0. Treyarch, to me, of all the many descriptions I've had of him, does not read as someone who runs away from responsibility ever. For something he's directly, like, he started it, and he knows the stakes again. So I think he will get into contact with his faction and tell them on the what's up. Maybe talk to Trey, but in general, one of the problems that he had sniffed out even before this crisis was dropped into the world was that Weistrom is not in a good way right now. Fetohep says, Weistrom, you're fucking useless. Sorry, you're terribly useless in the world or the time where we need you most, and this is a problem. And that's something that Treyarch sort of agreed with before Fetohep even called attention to it, and he was in the process of trying to fix that. Most relevantly by fixing Cognita so they could go to the upper floors, or at the very least, like, have access to the higher level magics. And even Galay, at the time when the crisis was being announced, is like, if we had access to the higher floors, we would know what they're talking about, and he regrets that. So I don't think Treyarch is done with Weistrom in any way. I think he definitely will be. That's on his list of his long list of things to do right now. He, like, heading back there and figuring out some sort of solution, or at least some way to, like, keep Weistrom from backsliding and making Weistrom useful again for the world is probably going to be a major concern of his.
All right, I'm gonna challenge some people to speak here because we've been doing a lot of the talking and there isn't a lot of talking. Colebringer, do you have your mic? Would you be willing to speak for a sec?
Hi. Yes. What's up?
So you mentioned well, you brought up the question about Wistrom's terrorist faction. How do you see the whole plot line between Terrace, Zelkir, Askarash, Treyarch, and magic in general working out? Wistrom has always been represented as the dumb people, the dumb, super powerful people who do really politically, like, shitty things, but that work out for them because they're super powerful and kind of necessary. So complacent. How do you think all of that will work out? What are the changes that you project or see happening, especially with the Return of the Dead Gods and Teriarch's presence in the world?
I've considered this question in the past. Before Emarain was sealed away, I was assuming that Wistrom was going for a bad end type scenario, in which you would have Aaron plus Emarain manipulate events at Wistrom in such a way that perhaps Zelkir would somehow be called upon, found, or harnessed, or enslaved. I was assuming that Aaron, combined with Emrain, would find a way to turn Wistrom into an antagonist faction upon the worlds to herald the re-arrival of the dead gods. But now, with Emrain locked away and Aaron neutered, I think we might actually be aiming for a more positive resolution to the Wistrom storyline. I think that I agree with the earlier take said by someone that Treyarch will reassume his responsibilities as the leader of the terrorist faction, and I think that one way or another, Zelkir's mysteries in the upper floors will be revealed soon. I would also speculate. I won't go so far as to bet, but I would speculate that there's a chance that Treyarch tries to reintegrate Askarash into the world's public magical community. I'm not sure yet, but I'm just going for positive. I'm just believing in a positive end to the storyline now.
I would agree. What do you think, Sean?
Weistrom kidnapping Earthers was the main reason to dislike them. And we have much bigger problems now in the form of the gods returning. And Weistrom is a small fish, and they have bigger problems to worry about. So I think, yes, Weistrom will stop being so antagonistic, stop kidnapping the characters that we like, and will hopefully start contributing more. Because we had a faction of Earthers there. We're leaving now, or at least most of them are leaving. And it's time for Weistrom to, like, do something. There are ghosts telling everyone where everything important is. We need the higher levels of Weistrom yesterday. That that needs to be resolved at some point.
Beyond Wistrom's essential, like, possibly a positive end, I always saw it as Aaron would, Aaron the asshole, Aaron the fuckwad, Aaron the killer of Terriarch, would at some point would be part of whatever redevelops Wistrom into an actual power. We'll see where that leads, but I just wanted to mention that. Mel makes a comment in response to your original post, Coldbringer. I'm sure there have been dragon archmages at Wistrom. Terry going to Wistrom would fit his MO of wanting to bring back magic to the world as the true archmage of memory. I don't know if Terriarch wants to bring magic back. Sure. And then you wanted to speak, Mel.
Yes, I will meet your call and speak. Very quickly, to my original point earlier in the discussion, if the world is transitioning from the reigning world to something else, why would Windstrom escape that dynamic shift? I think there's going to be a huge political mix-up at Windstrom in that the current status quo of politics, the factions are, some are going to grow like the terrorists, and some are going to fall like name a faction at Wistrom. I'm blanking out.
The Ulsanoi, the
Survivalists.
Libertarians, the
Libertarians, yeah.
Centrists, something like that.
Yeah, the Libertarians and the Revisionists and the Centrists, I think, are going to disappear. I think, to someone's earlier point, they're going to go up the stairs. Cognita is now free, and I think there's going to be a huge dynamic shift, regardless if Cognita wants it or not, of Windstrom has to change. If it's going to stay important as a functioning institute within the world, it has to change. And the current leadership has shown to be somewhat inept in being able to change, in that they are very selfish and not thinking about the whole world in general. I think Terry, one way or another, is going to go back, and he's going to facilitate changing Wistrom. And I really do like the idea of Chandler, one way or another, going back to Wistrom and revitalizing it. I think a lot of the old ideas of what is and what is not have to change. This is a situation where old beliefs, like beliefs about necromancy, have to change. Yes, Chandler has done horrible things, and maybe this will be a continuation of his redemption arc. Maybe it won't. I don't know. This is Pirate Harbor we're talking about. But there has to be big changes at Windstrom just for it to survive as an institution.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Sean. You're up.
Oh no, I was just saying. Well said.
Yeah. Go on.
I think we'll move on to a different question.
Yeah. Well, there was a backlog of comments. We got a lot of comments.
I'll do some of them. For Terry at the inn, wasn't he there physically? Visionary says, since there was a passage by Roka when he took off his and his shadow was still a dragon. Also for Bella, she did screw over Califor. I don't think he was there physically, and we talked about this earlier. And I believe Bella has just screwed over everyone over her 7,000 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's probably no one on that list. Polaric says Sire is totally Cruller.
Fuck off.
Oh. Thank you, Polaric, again. Cosmic Chaos says Sire wants to be the bad boy, with quotes. The Frost Wyvern Lord actually pulls it off. I don't get bad boy vibes from Sire. I think he wants to be the hero, I think, from what I've seen his actions are. Yeah. He's a dumb teenage dragon.
He's not a teenager, he's an old man. Stop it.
I'm sticking to that. Edge Dancer says, I love that point, Coldbringer. I think it would be a cool full circle to end to Wystrom, Az's, and Zell's storylines. And I believe he's referring to Az Karash getting redeemed. And that is a part to play. They could use a really good high-level necromancer right now. And
I don't see it as ending well. I think Az is going to die and leave behind his children as a legacy.
Az Karash has some crimes to answer for.
Mm-hmm.
The Drakes were probably irreconcilable enemies with him. But at the same time, Ascrash has changed according to the text. Like when Fetzelhep rang him up, Ascrash was sort of worried that he was gonna, genocide the whole continent, and he didn't want that to happen anymore. And that wasn't the case before Volume 4, where
I
he
guess.
did just want to genocide. So, on the standards of change, at least doesn't want to kill everyone anymore. Is we can put that in Az's resume. It's something. I get
Is
it.
Kermit in here, by the way? Action Kermit? No, he's not in here.
Actually, Kermit says Earthers have entanglements now. Trey demonstrated that taking an Earthers willy-nilly is dangerous from here out. And yeah, our Earthers are no longer starving, surviving refugees, just like trying to get by anymore. Kara is taking actual political stances and then trying to change the world because she sees countries doing bad things. Like Trey hates Actelios Selesh, and wants it taken down for the evil things that they're doing. The Earthers are no longer helpless as they were, if they were ever, and you need to be careful and not underestimate them anymore. The UN is probably going to skyrocket in relevance now that they're pacted to Paith, the tree, which is just in Dallonqual now. Like there's so many avenues for the Earthers to just become relevant
They're all like
on the
side
world.
characters, though, right? To the main characters outside of Aaron, even Aaron and Ryoka, they're all side characters to the story that's happening in Inworld. I think that's one of the more interesting aspects of how Pirate Abba has structured the story. The Earth folk are not the focus. They're the fulcrum, but they're not the focus of the story, right? It's all
Yes,
about the people from Inworld.
it's not 100% about the people from Inworld. Earthers can still be cool too, and Aaron can still be cool. But somewhere in the chapter it does mention the story was not about Risfiri. This story was not about Ryoka, and it's in regards to Oberyn holding open the crack and just like displaying, "Hey, look at this infested world. You sure you
Right.
want to buy that scroll?" Like it goes beyond everyone. No one is like the one main character.
Mm.
Like I would guess, with maybe the exception, or not really. He's not the main character, but it does say the wind chose you, Teriarch, to open up or to return and how you're needed. So
Mm.
Teriarch did get some focus too, but yeah,
At least here now.
yeah,
Polric says Wistrom isn't all that bad. They're They're a flawed guardian of the world order. They've done that historically, as Terry mentions in 8.61, and they've rallied against Velen with Balkazat, Flos, and the Antenium sailing from rear. Edmund says, "Have we seen if Wistrom is a place in the land of the dead?" It was specifically mentioned that all the ghosts are gone, so probably. Probably Emmerhoon ate everything. Polric quotes, Wistrom Academy is not the vaunted institution it once was. We have changed. Once we walked across the world and chose sides, we supported blah, blah, blah. That's Terry's quote from his speech before he... sorry, not Terry. Eldavin's speech before he teleported into Aelan Dominus. Edge Dancer in response to... Coldbringer in response to Edge Dancer's compliment says, "Yeah, I'm basically figuring in broad outlines that Teriarch returns to Wistrom as leader of the Terrace faction, and he promptly deals with Zelkir and Ascrash's subplots and renormalizes both of them into the world's magical order. The situation with the world has moved beyond the petty grievances that animated both men into becoming villains. I'm understating how difficult this can be to actually execute on. Zelkir probably needs to be rescued from some Velatorisa type style type trap in the upper floors. As for it would take several chapters. Oh, I was about to say several chapters, but then I remembered Pirate wrote a novel in 4 days. So yeah, several chapters of drama to renormalize him. But less now that Eldavin holds his true tail on global stream. Even less now that Fedorhep is cooperating with him for the sake of global defense. A Seamwalker war is far more important than the mortal politics, mortal crimes that both men would have normally needed to face justice for. Oh, guys, you are so naive if you think that the first thing like anybody gives a shit about the Seawalkers when Ascarash is in front of them. They're gonna try and kill Ascarash. They'll try to like integrate him like on the side. But do you honestly think they're gonna want him publicly associated with them?
Yes, actually. I think we had this exact dilemma when skills, magic, and entropy was turned back on in the Land of the Dead. And you had a whole bunch of heroes and their enemies sitting next to each other as seam walkers were walking over. And there was some bickering. Some of them did immediately just start feuding again with their skills, and I went like, I would have won this fight. Let's have another go. But for the most part, I think the ghosts did band together and fight the Seamwalkers. So I don't see any reason why In-World couldn't do the same. Just because they're living, they're still the same people, or they're still a people, rather.
Right. Polaric, to continue his prior thought. Actually, let me do a few more about this before I move back to Polaric. So Kel says, the enemy of my enemy is my friend is applicable here. The Seamwalkers and the Dead Gods are the enemy of everything living. So Brack goes, Emmy was hanging out in Wistrom with Black Mage. I can't imagine too many ghosts hanging out there anymore unless they are all in the upper floors, which would be an interesting twist. Of all the places to have protections against dead gods in the afterlife, Wistrom seems like they should at least have something. Maybe? Calera says, see what happened with Rashal in the Land of the Dead? Even when the world is ending, people have different priorities. True. My point exactly. In response to Polaric's comment about Fedorhep, Coldbringer says, you're 100 right to criticize. I'm just intentionally skewing my predictions to the positive because it's hard to see a future of TWI in which Az or Zelkir remain antagonists given current plot. I can see Zelkir remaining a negative aspect or even being seen as an impediment that is removed, but you're right. I do agree that Az would need to move on to the positive column in order for it to actually happen. What do you think, Shawn?
Can you restate the question, please?
So, Kolbringer says to Polaric, you're 100 right when Polaric says the Fedorhep part doesn't count because he was privately DMing him magically. If you look on that. So you're 100% right to criticize. I'm just intentionally skewing my predictions to the positive because it's hard to see a future in TWI in which Azkaresh or Zelkir remains antagonist given current plot, and I'm saying I agree on the Az part, but not on the Zelkir part.
I agree with just Coldbringer on both Az and Zelkir. I think everyone has bigger problems right now, and the Seamwalkers might even be the least of it. And so we're gonna see a lot of really weird alliances just pop up, and Zelkir would probably be one. Although I don't think we also have the status of Zelkir either. I don't think his ghost has ever been mentioned. And
No, it's one of those. I mentioned this in Discord in the main server. I pointed out that Pirate Abba has done that thing where they explicitly don't mention anything about a character because who needs to think about that person? You don't need to see the guy sneaking around the side about to stab a dragon. That's not important. The
we could
shiny
do
I'm
that.
putting in front of your face is important. Anyway, Polaric says in response to his thing, but I just don't see Zelkir not continuing to be an antagonist, considering what we know about his loyalty spells, Incognita, and by extension, the other two True Stone Golems, locking the upper floors for essentially his own greed and hoardiness, creating the test, which turned out to be an extremely skewed trap to kill potential competitors, stifle magic, and is heavily implied to have played a role in suppressing knowledge magic on Israel, from Az naming him during the Magicore reveal scene. More than a few people agree with this, and then he does a TLDR. He's done a ton of bad stuff.
Yeah, but so's Azkarash.
Yeah. So's Azkarash, yeah. What do you think? Couple of comments, and then we move on to the next question.
Yeah, I can read some comments if your voice
Go
is
ahead.
great.
Thank you.
Kel Aaron Hugs says Galay was angry specifically because he thought Wystrom would have had warning about the Seamwalkers if they had access to the upper floors. Yes, the upper floors of Wystrom being sealed from the world is a disaster on par with robbing a race of their entire mage generation. It's gone on for too long, and I think
and Zelkir did both of those things.
yes, very very bad, like unbelievably bad. So there should be a reckoning for that at some point. I would be interested to see what Cognita thinks about that, but yeah. Zelkir from Mr. Europe says, Zelkir, quote, my mind-controlled golems see me as a dad and I have sex with them, unquote. A Merrywing probably isn't going to be presented as a hero. Yeah, Zelkir has some problematic decisions and things that he has done. I am not saying that he's unforgivable though, but when the alternative is Zelkir like being okay with him or having the Seamwalkers like destroy all of reality, I think that they would hopefully band together, as they decided to do in the afterlife. Although not everyone in the afterlife was able to get over their differences, that's also the case as well. Edmund Lacorn says Crossbow Stan's ghost hasn't been mentioned yet. You can't have a ghost if you're still alive, Edmund. So I don't understand that question at all, or that comment at all. Agent Fogg says, I'm betting that Zelkir turned himself into a golem. It would explain his absence as a ghost, or maybe Emerheim just ate him. We don't know if he's gonna come back or yet. Like he could be anywhere. I don't know if he's about to knife us like Oshi says, but he is very much an open question as to what exactly he's doing, what his last machinations are. Tomeo says that Crossbow Stan's ghost has been eaten. Okay. In response to Edmund Lacorn. You can't have a ghost if you're not dead though. So like you're fine. You didn't stand
Read the pun. Do it.
he didn't stand a chance. Oh, thank you, Tomeo. Base says
Pain that these
honestly,
people cause.
we really haven't seen the beginning of betrayal. The gods are still struggling to even touch the mortal world. When they can, we will see some really dirty stuff.
I mean, Phthia is a good example, right? Base is correct. If the gods get even a single little bit, they can promise the world and force people, like, convince people to do horrific things and then eat their ghosts afterwards. You think Phythia's ghost didn't get eaten?
Yes, that is a huge that's a whole like subplot which was finally unveiled this chapter. Who is trying to murder Ryoka? It's Phthia. Because Cassina is whispering in her ear all sorts of just amazing things in exchange to like get her plans fruition, and the plans of the dead gods were coming to fruition in this chapter.
Which is the next question, by the way.
Yes.
The 16th, yeah.
How do we feel about the reveal that Phthia was working for Cassina from Void 22? I felt like a dummy. I was like, I don't know who tried to kill Ryoka. Maybe it's Pursua. Like the dumbest take, and I didn't think about it any further. And it's very obvious now that I should have been, because Ryoka is one of the pieces in the chaotic elements that we have fighting against the dead gods. So of course there's going to be an agent of the dead gods that's like working against her as well, and it's Phthia. And now Ryoka has a lot of work she has a lot of work cut out for herself. She has a lot to communicate, a lot of warnings to give. She needs to get on board and convince Rasferi of the threat. She needed to convince Menarkle and Gilau and all of Aelin Damus. Like she needs to get them on board, and she tries to do that with this chapter when she finally realizes like the extent of what's working against them. She tells Rasferi, hey, you need to muster an army. You need to get everything that you can. Just like this is an emergency beyond the most dire of emergencies. And Phthia, being an agent of the dead gods, really kicked Ryoka into being an agent against them. And I think that was a fun twist that should have been more obvious, and I missed. We have some comments on that. Blue Juice asks basically the same question. We'll return to that, Blue Juice. I'm sorry. Edmund Lacorn says, I called it being Thethia in the Twitch chat, so not everyone missed that as well. Edge Dancer says, we knew it was an immortal. It was just a matter of which immortal it was. So people were very smart on the op take. And Tomeo says, the gods can only recruit people that can remember them before dead gods became a thing. Athena was old enough to remember the gods. Zelkir wasn't. I also remember her having trouble, like she wasn't able to just full out name Cassina as a god. The filter or the Gias that keeps them from saying it was still sort of working on her, but she was actively trying to fight against it.
Speak.
Yeah, does anyone have any comments?
Speak. Come on. Tell us all about what you think of Phthia and the dead gods and all this bullshit. Go,
Edmund
Edmund.
Corn.
I was just gonna say I thought Fithia was the one who tried to bomb Ryoka because unless it was gonna be a wild card like Pursua coming there and trying to kill Ryoka, it had to be somebody there. And Fithia seemed like the last person anyone would guess. So I'm thinking, well, this is Pirate Abba, so it's obviously got to be Fithia. That was just the way I figured it in my mind.
Yeah, in retrospect, I think it was kind of obvious, but there were other things happening that distracted me. But yes, Thethia's betrayal was definitely foreshadowed. It didn't come out of nowhere, especially if you read back a bit. And it still comes as a devastating move to their side, more or less, because Fethia was basically Rasferi's mom, from what I understand. Ryoka tells
Whoa.
well, not literal mom, you know.
No. I'm saying no, not she was mom to the Titan and the Gryphon, not Rasvari.
No, Risveri found her. He
Yeah.
found her.
Yes, she was literal mom to the Titan and the Griffin, but Rosary does say, "You killed Fethia. Fethia, the first who didn't just name me a monster and chase me away when I was still underground, and who taught me magic." Maybe not a literal parental relationship, but it's very clear that Rasferi deeply, deeply cares for Fethia, and even though he believes Ryoka's warning, he is unable to just let that go. You killed Fethia, who was a very important friend to me. I'm about to like mess you up.
So
And then
important that he wouldn't use the scroll on her.
I think he was auctioning it off at that point.
No, I'm saying I'm being snarky, saying that she's so important. Except I'm never going to use a scroll on her. That's not going to happen. I'm just going to kill you.
Rasferi, I mean, there was a lot going on in that moment too. I believe right as he was about to slay Ryoka or attack Ryoka, there was a whole bunch of dragons just started breathing fire on him.
There was Eren.
Yeah,
Fuck
Eren was
dragons.
there too.
You forgot that there was Eren. That's the best part of that scene. Fuck the dragons. It's Eren. She shows up with a pan in hand and starts. I really wanted to know what she said to him. I really, really want to know what she said to him.
You can infer a lot when Ryoka's brandishing the Fey Blade, which has like a stream of jet plasma coming out of it. Rasferi's like, "What are you brandishing at me? And I could destroy souls." And it's clear that Eren's just there giving him a piece of her mind out of nowhere, and it's amazing. An incredible moment. This just comes out of nowhere.
Somebody's commented, "Too awesome to be seen." Classic case of too awesome to use. Dude, go back. They had a whole ass conversation and the reactions talking to each other about Casigna, Fithia, and Ascaroth. Good luck with that.
Oh dear. Let me find that.
Start back at Blue Juice at 753.
Blue Juice 753. Can you read his first comment and then I'll find it?
Okay, Casigna had Fithia as an agent in the mortal world. Could Zelkir be an earlier version of this? After all, who gave BK the summoning ritual?
Ooh,
Oh, fuck.
That's a great point.
In general, who do we think might be a secret god agent? While people think about this, I'm going to really smash through these comments for Shawn because his voice is giving out. Get some water, dude.
I'll be right back.
All right. Part-time hermit, in response to the crossbow stand being not mentioned, he represents the final fight of the ghosts. He's the great last stand. I'm just going to let that sit there for a second. All right. Ascaresh has had character growth, and we've seen him change how he looks at the world. Wiggles, my hands are full of food. Can you mark them off as I go through? Thank
Which one do you
you.
want? Which one do you want?
Markov Blues, and then Part-Time Hermits, and then I'm on Kel. Askaresh has had character growth.
Okay.
Askaresh has had, this is the third time I'm saying, fourth time, Askaresh has had character growth, and we've seen him change how he looks at the world. The only information we have on Zelkir is that he is an awful, awful bastard. Zelkir, like Phthia, is IMO, a candidate for betraying the world if it gets him something he wants, if he's still alive. And in response to that to the if he's still alive comment, Coldbringer says, if he was dead, we would have seen him during the Deadlands arc. He's almost definitely alive. Most likely having somehow trapped himself in a trap or midway through turning himself into a golem. It was mentioned a while ago that Wands of True Stone and Bound Light are considered the apex of wand creation. The implication there is that Bound Light, pure magic, is the apex of golem creation. Zelkir may have tried to turn himself into an almost Jinn-style energy entity, a golem of pure magic, perhaps, and got stuck in the process. Yeah, sure. Polaric goes, yeah, Az has a lot of personal screen time to be humanized with his POV chapters, and Zelkir doesn't have that. Yeah. Okay, and then we have Edge Dancer says the GESH, Gesh? What the fuck does that mean? I know what it means if you were geish, if it was like you were putting on a full face of makeup. Part-Time Hermit in response to Tomio's, the gods can only recruit people that can remember them before dead gods became a thing. Says, oh, I lost it again. Cognita knows the word, though. Maybe it's possible Zelkir also found out somehow. This supports the supposition that Lucius made about, all that shit. Zelkir being an agent. Mel says, is not fighting the dead gods a catch-22. Everyone needs to know who they are fighting to plan a defense, but the dead gods are mnemonic, hence knowing of them empowers them. So how do you raise a defense without telling? The gods are dead. So long as they are talked about in the sense of their being dead and that they're fighting these spirits, then it's difficult but possible.
I'd actually like to take a moment just to address that, because
Okay.
we saw this embodied 100% when the angel breaks into the Deadlands for a moment and literally just beats the hell out of Tamaroth and Nurekel.
Raquel, yeah.
Like the angel is just hitting them in the nuts canonically and just delivering what I thought in my mind was like a wrestler level beatdown on them. And it says explicitly, this should not be the case, but because she was ignorant, she locked them into that perspective. She didn't know any better. She did not know what she was fighting, and because of that, she was able to just brutally dismantle them, while the rest of the ghosts basically cast buff scales and cheered. One, that was an awesome moment, and two, that they're not helpless. They have some level of fighting, so it's not completely hopeless. They can still rally people against the dead gods. They might not be able to say explicitly everything about them, but they can still mount a defense through the ignorance. So yeah, I thought that was just a good thing to mention off of Mel's comment.
Edge Dancer says she was Rish's godmom. I guess that's in response to Phthia. Polaric says she also taught him magic. Tomio says, by the way, don't blame Phthia. She was a victim. Blame Casigna, that bitch. Edge Dancer says Riss was pathologically incapable of using the scroll. I agree. Kylera says, just leave the ritual around for someone to find. Everyone thinks the enemy of their time is the greatest the world ever faced. Someone would use it eventually. Edge Dancer says, that's how you properly pronounce the word gay. Oh, I know that's how you pronounce it. Stop it.
Gesh, or is it Gesh?
It's supposed to be pronounced Gesh, but I have never stopped saying it as Gesh. Kel comments, you mean the god of getting punched? And the god of getting sacked in the nuts? Oh,
Getting hit in the nuts. Sacked in the nuts is probably just as bad, though. I think Pirate writes out their titles jokingly at one point, just in awe of this beatdown that's being delivered to them. So yeah, they're having a bad time.
Yeah, I think we got that question pretty well if you want to move on.
Let's see. What have Sylvania and Kazatha have been up to since 8.78? Sylvania says she has to leave Rear to find out what is going on, as there are no ghosts in Rear, and that section ends with the deaths of Rear went to prepare. I think that they would probably go to the first Seamwalker emergence, is where I would guess, because Kelt is just sounding the alarm generally. The King of Evel with the bow is just shooting arrows at like nothing, but people are noticing he's just leveling randomly while he's doing this, and they can't find the arrows that he's shooting. So everyone in Inverse is aware, at the least now, there is a threat unseen, and we're fighting it. And also, the ghosts all came back and just told us everything that they possibly could to get us stronger. Something's wrong, and if the deaths of Rear are trying to look for that threat, they'd go to the very first source of the fighting. So I think if a Seam Walker does appear on Inverse, which has been implied that it can happen, especially with cracks that are letting the ghosts through, that's where I would expect to find them next. But where do you think they would be, Hoshi?
Two things. First, I don't think they can leave Rear ever, because no matter what, Crazy King Dude is going to attack them. He doesn't care if the world burns down. He's gonna send a few resources, say that yeah, stuff's happening, and then wait for them to leave, and then attack and kill them, because he does not care. He's Crazy King Dude. Also, as an addendum to that, I just remember when the Time Mage was having like a fit in his court? It makes sense now why that was happening, because clearly you can't be in the same place from two different times at the same time, you know? When there was a paradox moment.
Oh, that's what that was. Yeah.
I forgot, like, there's so many things I forgot to mention that part. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I just ate a pepper. I honestly think there's no situation where things will, like, Rear will ever be anything other than the king trying to kill them and not succeeding and then trying again.
We have the paradox in play now, with Narashal attempting to warn himself of things to come through Aaron. So if she gets back to her body, that could be an alternative timeline. Because we saw the timeline where the Blighted King goes nuts and tries to kill everyone after stabbing
That's the
Narashal.
thing, though. I know everybody talks about paradox and stuff, and that you can't go back to the past and change things. You can only go to the future, and I know temporal rules are different, but my theory is that it isn't technically a paradox, because if the timeline never existed in the first place, Nershel would still end up going back at his death, but instead, in that case, it would be with the knowledge, if she succeeds, with the knowledge that Aaron warned him, and thus the timeline stays consistent. It's just that possible future timeline just gets eliminated. Am I wrong? Is my idea of what timelines work wrong?
My head always spins when time travel comes into play. I think I just usually just say I'm going along for the ride, because there's so many questions to try to answer if you really want to get it all 100% consistent, and it might not be possible.
Yeah. I'm just gonna leave that there and let other people argue about it, right?
Yeah. I do want to say briefly, because it should be mentioned, that there was art in this chapter. The Pride of Welfar was a vessel without equal, is the line that it hyperlinks to, and it hyperlinks into some amazing art. I spent like 3 minutes just looking in this piece of art in close detail, and I would love to see it on like a poster. Like I would totally hang this up on my wall somewhere, of the right side of the art, which just has like amazing color and line work. So let me know.
Enurin did for those Shawn forgot to mention, but it's Enurin's work, and he did a painting of the Pride of Welfar with proper structure and scope, and shows how big it is and all that stuff.
Yes, very beautiful, and deserves to be mentioned. Amazing work from Enrune, as always. I always love his art style, and he does a great job encapsulating everything. So
Did
props
the
to him.
art poll finish, by the way? I think the art poll finished. Who won?
What did win?
Yeah. While you look that up, Mel says, are the sea markers avoiding Rear because of Sleepy? If so, the deaths of Rear would have to leave to find a sea marker. If they did leave, I can see them going to Droth. And Blue Juice wants to speak. Go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Mic troubles are kind of my jam.
Yeah.
I was gonna say about the comment about Narishal and about the not just the potential for the paradox, but I think if there wasn't a paradox, then the gods and the gnomes wouldn't have commented on it just in the text. Like it doesn't mean that it's taking root, but the fact that they were able to actually see it as a dimension or as something that affected reality or affected their since they're conceptual existences and that's how they fight. That's just another interesting wrinkle. So it implies like that it isn't completely set, and maybe the reason that Aaron's able to be a part of that or affect some kind of change for that paradox is because we see in that same chapter she has a rather impressive time skill, and so that's something that the Grand Design gave to her. So who knows? Maybe this is even Aaron's arrival is the result of a paradox. Dun dun dun. That's all I had to say about that, since it wasn't really in this chapter, and just general Aaron shenanigans in this chapter were fun. And got a pumpkin pie. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm guessing he's at work or something. There was something somebody mentioned, and I feel like compelled to say this out loud. Base says, I feel so bad that Enurin made awesome art, then Pirate turns around and contradicts him by putting a mermaid on the front. I thought it was an internal mermaid. Am I wrong?
This is when the ship literally speaks, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was a cool moment. It named him the master of the waves, and then told him
The moment was cool. He's talking about the mermaid was that the masthead? And the masthead is missing on the picture?
I need to pull up the art again. I did look up who won the poll though. It was Paith on the Coast, with over 500 votes, trailed behind by the Earth Elemental and Goblin Home. So I believe Paith has taken it. I don't know if the poll's over though. It's the April poll, so it might be open.
It'll probably be over either today or tomorrow, I think. I don't know. It has to end this week sometime.
Well then, it looks like Paith would take it, but you never know. There's always a potential plot twist. If you
manipulation by people like Mr. Wiggles, I'm just saying.
I love all the art. I have no opinion. Vote for what you truly want, and we'll get amazing art in the times to come. To get to the last of the comments, Edge Dancer says time paradoxes are a thing if time is assumed to be singular and linear.
Which I don't.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Tomeo says we learned that the Welfar came from the mermaid, and mermaids have bad naming sense, as bad as goblins. I don't know. I'd have to remember what things mermaids have named, but
I don't think anyone's named anything. Like, are they sea fish named or something? And I missed something. I think it was the rest.
We'll get more data on that to come.
Welfar. I guess that is a silly. I mean, that's a pirate name. It's not that's a pirate name.
There's an ice mage named Alfreeze. Okay, like
no os. It's a miss. It's what is it? Keeping up appearances style. It's bouquet. It's spelled Bucket.
we just accept the names. We move on.
Miss Buckets. No, I love that show so much. Okay.
Edge Dancer says the mermaid is on the front in all of the art. Kylara says what? The mermaid is there. Edge Dancer says people can't see. Kylara says it's really tiny. It's easier to see on the sailing image. Tomeo says her name is Welfar. Edge Dancer says don't forget a sail. A sail? What is
that? There wasn't a sail. Yeah, there was one of the drakes named a sail. I think it was in the Relk chapters.
Blue Juice says Dio Pirate named the time general Dio. I didn't make that JoJo connection. Not the stretch, but I love it. Edge Dancer says, Oshi, I thought that was because Narashal was getting time indigestion.
No! Indigestion is for people who consume something. He didn't eat anything. Did he eat did he eat something?
I think that's what like the excuse that he came up with, or he tried to, and he's just like, all right, plot stuff's happening, I gotta go, and then bailed. Kel says, which is still terrible because a sale for an admiral in Xeris. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. It is the admiral.
I will. We're now coming up on 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'll end the recording here, and there will
That
be
sale.
on a sale, and there will be more discussion on Sunday as well. I think if
Right.
Wiggles.
We're going to do a part 2, and it's going to... Mr. Wiggles is hoping to do it in the public server and involve as many people. So if you have friends, if you know anybody who can't, talk, this will be happening after the public release. So talk about it, tell people about it. We're going to have the Reddit mods announce it on Reddit, see who we can drag into the conversation. We'll see what comes.